What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie who has COVID. So if you are one of those people that believe that COVID can be spread through the internet, I highly recommend you turn off this video right now and go watch something else. All my other videos, except for a couple, like 2020 when I didn't know I had COVID, should be safe. Also, I'm losing my voice. So went through the day losing my voice, came home, COVID. So it's going rough. But I want to make this video because I am super excited about now getting past disc 1 on the Apostrophe 50th anniversary box set release, and I'm on disc 2. And this is what I was super excited about. Probably this disc, these 2 and 3 more than anything. A complete concert from Colorado Springs, Colorado in 1974. The first disc, disc 2 of the bonus concerts. It's 11 musical tracks plus an intro. Fantastic stuff. Sort of transparent, for the sake of transparency, Summer Fall, which is the show that is contained on disc 4 and 5, easily my favorite Zappa tour. And as I'm finding out, having listened to this, and then thanks to Zappa, Erie, and Roxy and elsewhere, of course, 74 just might be my favorite year. You can't go wrong with Tom Fowler on bass, George Duke on keyboards, Chester Thompson on drums. You got Ralph Humphrey on drums in this, Ruth Underwood on percussion. Getting harassed a little, being told to take her top off. Other women have quit Frank's bands for that. She puts up with it. We got some Bruce Fowler on this one. We got some Jeff Simmons, who sat in on the Roxy and elsewhere tapes, that sort of Sunday jam or Monday jam, whatever it was. And then he stuck around and joined the band. Rhythm guitar, some vocals, some harmonica. Brock is on saxophone and a lot of vocals. And then Zappa on guitar. Really good stuff. So what is on this? A lot. So we open up with show start band intros. And I would say the most interesting thing about the band intros is Frank is still introducing Echidna's Arf of You as eccentrifugal force. I know how to say that word. Which he introduced it as far back as like the late summer 73 tour. So it's been that, and it still is eccentrifugal force, though it is Echidna's Arf of You. So that's really the only interesting thing about the band intros. Then our first song is Village of the Sun. And this Village of the Sun is like this really weird hybrid of fall 73, of later 74, with parts in it that would not appear in any other. The opening part of this has this doom, 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 this like sort of drum meets horn type vibe. And it so reminds me of this song called Pico and Sepulveda by Felix Figueroa. That's a street in LA. I should know how to say it. Felix Figueroa and his orchestra mentions La Brea Tar Pits. Awesome song. It was a big favorite on Dr. Demento in like the 70s and early 80s. But the beginning to this, the doon, doon, reminds me of the beginning of Pico and Sepulveda. And I haven't gone back and listened to Pico and Sepulveda prior to making this video, though I wanted to. But I was afraid I wouldn't say this, and then I wouldn't say this, and you wouldn't discover a great song. If Frank was aware of it, it fully would make sense that he'd drop in like a bar of just that open before he goes off. Like, I'm hoping that's the case, because it would be awesome. I mean, it's about LA, Pico and Sepulveda. It's Pico and Sepulveda. Cross streets. So we get that intro for Village of the Sun. Then we get a pretty more high-speed version as opposed to the slower 73 versions. But the middle jam in this, it's Frank plays some licks, Duke plays some licks. Frank plays some licks, Duke plays some licks. Frank plays some licks, Duke plays some licks. There's this little like bar or 2 bars of a brand new sort of instrumental section that gets inserted throughout that has this weird sort of off-kilter rhythm. It's an exhilarating start. That goes into Echidna's Arf of You. And if I have a complaint about anything on the show, the beginning of it doesn't have that full dun 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 that it would by like late 74. It's pretty much sounds like a single guitar player playing it on just the E string. Dun, 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 dun. It just doesn't have quite that impact. Also, I would say that Echidna's Art of You is a difficult song. There's a lot of moving parts in the song, and there's that 40-second section at the end where it sounds like you're like free falling and doing like just spins, and you finally hit, you're gonna like just crash, but then Don't You Ever Watch That Thing comes in and like stops you. Dun 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 dun. The band sounds like they're at that point where like we know how to play this song, but we also want to put a little eyebrows and a little put a swag into it. Like there's not a lot of that because this song is so tightly composed, but there's a bit of a looseness in Echidnas that will continue to be loose, and then by the time they get to like fall 74, like November, it's just like, let's play this as quickly and perfectly as possible and just blow people's minds. Now we're in the little bit of like, let's flex our muscles. That goes into Don't You Ever Watch That Thing. Really good Don't You Ever Watch That Thing. Frank complains that Ruth is complaining about the guy running the sound because there's feedback, and if Brian was here, Brian would have taken care of it. And then at the end, during the drum solo part or the percussion solo, when like Ralph and Chester and Ruth are just trading parts, they go into this really cool kind of minimalist but very busy sort of groove. And Brock does a saxophone solo. Then Fowler comes in on bass and starts adding some accents. And then Bruce comes in on trombone. And then we kind of wrap up the thing. But it's maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes long. That could have gone on for 10 minutes. It's the reason you get live shows, for little moments like that don't happen at every show. Absolutely fantastic. Then it goes into, oh no, Babette. Goes into a Reuben and the Jets era 50s type love song about a dog, about one of Marty's dogs, I'm assuming, sung by Napoleon incredibly well. We're going to get out the purple box right here, but in the You Can't Do That on Stage set, Frank put up a bunch of criteria about why certain tracks would be selected for the You Can't Do That on Stage. And one of the, number 7, does the inclusion of this song help the stylistic flow of the album sequence by providing contrast or relief? The inclusion of Babette in the set list following Village, Echidna's Don't You Ever Wash, which are all just crazy overtop songs. And then after Babette, they go into Approximate, which is just like Echidna's and Don't You Ever at like 10 times more the extreme. Babette is perfect. It is perfect. It is exactly what you need at the moment you need it. It is irreverent. Brock is doing some great singing. He's got some great dog impersonations at one point. It's a silly song about loving dogs, but it is expertly placed in the set list. That goes into Approximate, which is insane. Excellent version. Couple little jam sections in the middle where I think it's Frank, I don't think it's Simmons on guitar. It's just playing super fast, like just really fast rhythm. It's almost as if Frank was like, for like the theme, like the pre-written parts, I want you to be tight, don't make mistakes, like you hit your marks. When we get to that jam session, go noisy, go big, go crazy. Like that's the part where I want you to get ridiculous. That's what Approximate feels like. Approximate just feels like this absolutely incredible adrenaline rush. And then that goes into another perfectly placed song in Cosmic Debris. Just once we get past 74, to me, Cosmic Debris loses some of its like musical value, becomes like a placeholder song. It's fun. We're going to toss a solo to Cucurulo or Ike or Vi or Keneally or Ray White, or somebody's going to drop a solo. I'm not sure Ray White ever did. And it just becomes this like joke song. Here, Jeff Simmons gets a harmonica solo, Duke gets a keyboard solo, Frank gets a super tasty guitar solo. It just feels a little more like necessary to the show, and it just fits the vibe of this band perfectly. Simpler, just kind of a straight blues type jam in the middle. But coming after Approximate and then Don't You Ever Wash That Thing and all those other things, again, set list construction, impeccable. Simmons does sing the wrap the newspaper around my head part. That part isn't quite as good as it was like on Apostrophe, or it's not as bad as the reggae part later, but it doesn't quite work for me. But it's nice to hear Simmons singing something. Then we get the pretty standard 3-song run of Pygmy Twilight, Idiot Bastard Son, Cheapness. This is another example of where setlist construction is perfect. The Idiot Bastard Son, right between those, is just like molten gold. It is so good. I think Brock's performances are so good. He's a little more reined in than he would on other songs, especially like Pygmy Twilight, which is your fast version with the jam in the middle that's really loose and just kind of a funk jam, and Napoleon's improvising stuff, and then we go into that that little weird part before we go back into the song. A lot of Napoleon Brock just kind of improvising. Cheapness, same thing. Got a lot of Napoleon Brock just kind of improvising. Idiot Bastard Son right in the middle is kind of just, we're reining everything in for like 2.5 minutes, and then you can go crazy after that. So really nice. And then the disc closes out with a Montana, pretty good Montana. I would say not the best as far as the solos go. I want to say 73 Montana is just the rhythm section Frank's playing, and then later 74 in fall. But this is a solid 73 era, 74 era Montana. And then we get the intro to Dupree's Paradise. We don't get Dupree's Paradise because whoever made editing decisions decided to put that on disc 3. So we get the intro, which is George solo on piano. He doesn't get an introduction. Frank, he's not hitting the finger cymbal as he would in 74, doing kind of some spacey out there stuff. Frank starts conducting almost immediately, and we get a little funk in there. And then the first real jam we go into sounds like the chord progression in Gregory Peccary, like around, I think it's like 16, 17 minutes, when Gregory is doing that. He does that, is this the old loft with the paint peeling off it, by the Chinese police where the dogs roll by? Is this where they keep the philosophers now, or whatever he says? It has that feeling, that progression, this almost swaying back and forth type thing. It is awesome. They kind of abandon it as George gets super funky and goes off, but there's some definite Gregory Peccary in there. And the first time I heard this, I've listened to this twice, only because I listened to it on the way to and from work today. Usually I listen to it once, I listened to it twice. I cheated. And the reason I think it actually is from Gregory Peccary is later in the song, Frank plays some Gregory Peccary do on guitar. Then we get more Gregory Peccary on guitar. Then we go into a Louie Louie jam at one point, like the second half when Frank's conducting, and we get all these like little sort of short minute-long excursions into musical territories. Then we get a full-on, after the Don't Eat the Yellow Snow suite in 73, they would go into Farther Oblivion. But after they played Rollo, right? No, they did Father Oblivion. They weren't doing Rollo yet, right? But anyways, before they went into Farther Oblivion, Frank would say, join the march and eat my starch. And then we would go into that really fast part of Gregory Peccary. It goes, and then we'd slide into the big Swifty part. They play that whole section in here to end the jam, and then it ends and they go into Dupree's Paradise proper, which is on disc 3. So yeah, this stuff is amazing. As someone, I would say that the music I've heard from Frank far more than any others are 73 and 74 era things. Stage 2, Roxy, Zappa Erie has joined that. The Overnight Sensation has joined that. There are things that are joining that, but my live stuff and live tapes, I've listened to this stuff more than anything else. And what I really, really like this release, Village of the Sun sounds different. Echidna's got a little swag. Don't You Ever, the jam at the end. Babette, perfect placement. Proximate, perfect placement, great jam. Cosmic Debris, it's only going to stick around for a year before it gets old. Pygmy, Idiot, Cheapness, pretty much the same. Montana never gets old. And I could take every single Dupree's Paradise intro ever and have a Louie Louie jam. We got some Booger Bear action in there. We got some Gregory Peccary. It's just, it's really good. And it's only half of the show. We still got a whole Dupree's Paradise coming on disc 3, plus some Andy and some Florentine Pogan. And I don't think it's hot in this room as much as I think. I have a fever also. So I think my fever's starting to spike the more I talk. So I should probably relax and calm down and feed this COVID that I got. But I'm going to go do it and listen to disc 3. Absolutely fantastic. Disc 2, home run, fantastic. One more thing. I wish they would look at the Grateful Dead Dave's Picks model. Beginning of every year, you have the option to buy a Dave's Picks subscription for the year. You get 4 releases. Don't know what they are. They mail them to you. Then there's a limited number of those on sale on the date that they're released. They're not there forever. They're like, hey, there's only 500,000. Get it while you can, otherwise you're not going to get it. This is perfect for that. 4 live show releases over the course of a year. I'm going to buy it every time. Like, I'm a completist, and I'm more live completist than anything else. And I think this show already, even though I've only heard the first half, supports a case for that. But yeah, that's all I got. I'm so happy after this. This is fantastic. Really excited to hear the Dupree's Paradise Proper and all the really, really cool stuff on the second half of the show. But that's what I got. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think of this. Subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. And yeah, man. Hope I didn't give you anything. I don't think you can over the internet. I don't think I can give you a real virus. Just a fake one. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.